Let's jump right in. Picture this, a grand, quiet Victorian library right in the heart of London. It's the kind of place where true craftsmanship is literally the only thing that matters. Inside, we've got a junior developer, Timothy, sitting across from his senior colleague, Margaret. Now, they aren't just chatting about code, they're actually dissecting the very nature of work in the age of artificial intelligence. In today's Explainer, we're diving deep into Aaron Rose's brilliant piece, The Secret Life of Claude Code, using AI with discipline. Through Timothy and Margaret's back and forth in this timeless room, we're going to uncover exactly why coding with AI requires honestly profound personal discipline, and why just leaning on the tool alone is absolutely going to cause your skills to plateau.
So, reflecting on his first full year of using AI, Timothy actually has this massive breakthrough. He realizes, wow, I was placing orders, not briefing a colleague. He'd been treating the AI like a vending machine, right? Just popping in a prompt and expecting perfect code to drop out. And that was his fundamental error. Placing orders inevitably leads to terrible outputs and these endless, super frustrating cycles of wasted corrections. Sitting there in the library, he finally admits to Margaret that he didn't really understand what he was doing at all. He just kind of thought he did.
You see, when you're just placing orders, you completely strip away the context, the constraints, the whole history of the project. But think about how you treat a human colleague. You're calm, you're deliberate, you give them the background, explain the end goal, and lay out the constraints way before any actual work kicks off. Timothy realizes that adopting this deliberate, conversational approach with an AI is literally the secret to transforming chaotic, frustrating outputs into high-quality, genuinely usable results.
So, let's look at how developer discipline actually compounds, going from conscious effort all the way to automatic habit. Now, these foundational habits, they definitely don't just happen overnight. They build on each other in distinct layers. Margaret leans across the table and breaks the whole thing down. Step 1 is conscious technique. You literally have to force yourself to provide context or write out a plan. It takes a lot of heavy mental effort. But stick with it, and eventually you hit Step 2, unconscious habit. Providing that deep context just becomes second nature. Honestly, it starts to feel completely wrong if you try to skip it. And that leads directly to the magic of Step 3, free attention. Because you aren't burning mental energy on the basics anymore, your brain is totally freed up to judge the finer details, like prompt quality and task boundaries. This is where Margaret drops a really profound piece of mentorship. She says the beginner thinks about fundamentals consciously. The intermediate practitioner has internalized them. The expert's attention is free for things the beginner cannot yet perceive. By automating those foundational habits, Timothy has finally hit the intermediate stage. But he admits, it doesn't exactly feel like mastery. And Margaret's response? It's perfect. She tells him it shouldn't. Mastery isn't about feeling like you know everything. It's the increasing clarity of seeing exactly how much more there is left to learn. Reaching that intermediate stage just gives you the vision to perceive the deeper, hidden complexities of the work that a beginner is, frankly, totally blind to.
Which brings us to moving the work upstream, reclaiming your time and attention.
Think about the before times. Pre-AI, the vast majority of a developer's day was just mechanical execution, literally typing out the code. But when you start using an AI tool effectively, your time allocation completely flips. The AI handles the mechanical typing beautifully, shrinking that part of your day down to almost nothing. What does that mean for you? It means your time is now overwhelmingly spent on high-level thinking, architecture, design decisions, and really rigorous review. The work moves upstream. You spend way less time just building and significantly more time deciding what to build and verifying if what the AI built is actually right.
This right here is the absolute core of the whole explainer. Using AI without discipline will, for sure, make you faster. You'll generate lines of code at absolute lightning speed. But using AI with discipline, that makes you better. Margaret points out a massive trap that so many developers completely miss. An AI tool will return your time, but your own personal discipline determines whether that reclaimed time is truly invested into high-level thinking or if it's merely spent generating more careless output. Bottom line, faster and better are absolutely not the same thing.
Let's transition from technique to practice, exploring the journey beyond the basics.
As they keep talking among all those old books, Timothy realizes his questions have totally changed. He isn't focused on the basic mechanics of the tool anymore. Margaret points out that stopping at mere technique basically guarantees you're going to plateau. Because technique has a visible ceiling, right? Once you know the syntax of a good prompt, you just hit a brick wall if that's all you've got. But developing a holistic practice where you focus on fluency, the entire building process, and holding the whole architecture in your mind all at once, that has no visible ceiling. It opens the door for infinite, continuous growth as an engineer.
So what does that infinite growth actually look like in the real world? Well, it looks like taste. And I absolutely love this definition of taste in software engineering. It's the ability to recognize the real difference between code that is merely correct, as in, yeah, it compiles and runs, and output that is truly right. Code that is right fits the system perfectly, it's super easy for the next developer to understand, and it reflects a genuine understanding of the problem. You can't just memorize a checklist for taste. It's forged strictly through focused attention, deliberate practice, and accumulated experience.
And that leads to maybe the most underappreciated consequence of AI-assisted development. It essentially acts as a time machine. Because AI produces more output faster, it drastically accelerates your rate of decision-making. You're constantly evaluating code, and because of the sheer volume of practice, it can potentially compress 5 years of traditional hand-typed architectural experience into just 2 years. But, and this is a massive but here, this compression only happens if you're actively paying attention and using that discipline to refine your taste with every single output.
Moving on to the ultimate amplifier, and why AI is definitely not a shortcut.
Here is the brutal truth of the matter. You cannot shortcut thinking without degrading your results. Timothy brings up how developers who struggle with AI tools usually approach them as a way to get output without doing the hard mental labor. But guess what? The tools actively resist that kind of laziness. If your prompt is sloppy, the output is going to be a total mess. The quality of your human thinking fundamentally and unavoidably dictates the quality of the AI's output.
So what does AI actually amplify? Things like providing deep context, careful planning before you build, reviewing with extreme care, and having genuine understanding before acting. Margaret notes that these are timeless engineering disciplines. They're literally older than the technology itself. They'd make a developer better using any tool, in any era. AI just makes the absence of these disciplines painfully obvious and their presence incredibly powerful. AI doesn't replace discipline, guys, it massively rewards it.
Finally, let's look at the practice of conversation and the value of examining the work itself.
As they wrap up their session, the quiet of that Victorian library settling back in, Timothy realizes something deeply profound. The true value of their meeting wasn't just in the specific coding tips he got from Margaret. It was the fact that he understood things in the very act of explaining them that he hadn't fully grasped before. Just stepping back, clearly describing his workflow out loud, and having someone else examine it, that was a discipline all on its own. Taking the time to reflect on how you work is absolutely critical for solidifying your own understanding.
We know for a fact that tools are going to change, and these models will rapidly improve, but the underlying discipline, that is absolutely not going to become obsolete. So the big question you've got to ask yourself is this. Knowing that the tech will evolve, but the need for human discipline remains constant, how will you use AI not as a shortcut to skip thinking, but as an amplifier to build your own mastery over the next year? Definitely something to chew on the next time you sit down to write a prompt.